Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dungeon Brawlers. I'm Jeremy DMing, and today we continue the epic journey of the Dungeon Brawlers. If you've been following along, you know we are building to some great stuff. And if you're new here, don't worry, you can catch up anytime. Now, let's get back to the action. All right, welcome everyone to session 2 of the Dungeon Brawlers in the Dragon's Tooth Tavern. I hope everyone is ready to play today. And a quick recap. The group was set off on an adventure from a quest that was given by the king, Valric of Volstagg, into the hamlet of Ashenvale. Ashenvale was on the northeastern side of the kingdom, and strange things were being reported. People were missing, crops were dying, cattle were slaughtered. When the group arrived at Ashenvale, they found a very dire situation. The fields of crops were overridden with earthworms. There were slain cattle within the fields. Again, also just covered in various worms, and people were starving. They encountered Brother Hildebrand at a church to Aramon, and he gave information to Rust, being a paladin of Aramon, that he believed that the reason behind all of these weird and strange things was that a cult of the worm, if you will, a cult of Caius, the worm that walks, had infiltrated the area, and that's why things like this were happening. Kiri, being the investigative type that she is, split from the group while they were in the chapel and found a mass of earthworms. Oh, not earthworms, but a pulsating root or vine that had attached itself to the back end of the chapel. When the group met her outside the chapel, she showed them this twisted, ugly, disgusting looking root that had attached itself to the church, and they could see that it led off into the forests, and the group followed it there, and there they found a lost tomb that had been overrun by cultists. Going through the tomb, you came upon the final chamber of the tomb, which had a magical circle in the center, and within that circle there was like a distortion in the air from all the magical energies being called forth. Once, when all the cultists were defeated, the wizards that were maintaining the power of the magical circle no longer there. The circle essentially collapsed in on itself and destroyed itself, and in its place, and within the rubble of the magic circle, was a stone that was covered in veins, and it pulsated and writhed with evil, destructive power. And that's where we left off last session. So that's where we were going to start today. You guys are in a massive chamber, used for funerary rites and funerary processions within this tomb. And on the floor before you is this stone. The main color of the stone is a sulfuric yellow with black, twisted, vein-like things that pulsate as if it's like a beating heart. You can just sense and feel just this evil power from it. So as you are all standing around the stone, what do you want to do?
Carrie wants to poke it with her staff.
I like that.
All right, so Kiri, you go over and you take the butt of your staff and you give it a little poke. Give me a intelligence saving throw.
Uh-oh.
Time to see how smart Kiri is.
This is a saving throw. This isn't a check, so this is a saving throw. So if you're looking on your character, I'll
Ooh,
bring-
nice.
Ooh, nice.
Dang, 21. There you go. Holy buckets. All right. So on a 21, when your staff touches the stone, you can feel a presence a presence that has reached out to you as if wanting to overtake you, corrupt you, but you are able to shake it off. The essence, the presence was of such uh, malevolent evil that you are shocked that something so evil could even exist in this world.
What are we in for?
Have we
Uh,
investigated the rest of the room?
We have not.
No, they were a bunch
No.
of cultists that we kind of womped on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phelan would like to look around a little bit, see if there's anything else there.
All right, give me an investigation check, please.
I will help Phelan if that's okay.
All right, that'll be a +2 for the help action. You would get a 9.
There's something
So-
in here.
Yeah, on a 9, you can definitely feel the malevolent presence. I mean, something dark, something evil was being either summoned or contained here. And on a 9, you kind of think this stone may or may not be the catalyst.
Can I make an investigation check?
Sure, go ahead.
I want to see if I can do
Help.
better. I got
That looks better than
24.
a 9.
How did I get a what? How did I get to add a 1d4 to that?
You cheated. You cheated.
Oh, it's because
Yeah, it looks
of
like.
my.
Did you have guidance on it, or?
No, it's because of my uh, bleh, not subclass, the mark of the warding, my dwarven abilities.
All right. So you were able to add a D4 to that. All right, that's awesome. All right, so on a 24.
Yeah, it's Wanderer's Intuition. When you make an intelligence investigation check or an ability check using Thieves' Tools, you can roll a d4 and add that number to the ability check.
Ooh.
That's cool.
Nice. That's pretty cool. All right, so on a 24, you can see all kinds of arcane inscriptions written on the walls, and of course, the ruins of the magic circle. What exactly these arcane symbols mean, you don't know for sure, but they all seem to be tied to that magic circle that was destroyed. It's almost as if these runes were there to bind or stabilize the magic that was within the circle.
Nice.
Interesting. And I'm going to relay that to the party.
Okay.
All right.
So these runes, they're here to stabilize everything. It's bad magic. I don't have anything to put the stone in. It's on the floor.
Thank you for spot summary. You have anything else to offer other than bad magic?
Well, for the stone, all you need is just some type of bag, realistically, whether it be a backpack or a sack of some kind. I believe Elanis gave you a black sack that had some healing potions, a wand, and a jewel in it at the start of last session.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and I grabbed the bag.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
So I'm gonna.
Well, I would say we get the stone and get out of here.
Yeah, Russ is gonna walk over and pick up the stone.
All right, give me a wisdom save, please.
Well, that's an 11.
On an 11. And yes, I did this differently than Kiri. Kiri was an intelligence because the essence was trying to corrupt her. But this wisdom.
Is he still blessed? Sorry, he has a bless mark on him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Bless is going to be ending here shortly. But yeah, if you have bless, go ahead and add your D4 to it too.
Sure, I'll roll a d4. And
So
I'm maxed.
So 15. On a 15, you resist the urge to attune yourself to the stone. The second you grabbed it, you felt an unabashed, unstoppable urge to try and attune to the stone itself. But you were able to shake that off, and now the stone just writhes and pulsates in your hand.
Does this stone have
Um,
a name?
You could do an arcana check or a history check to see if you recognize anything about this stone that you might know.
I'm gonna go history because that's an intelligence, and I get a 12.
It comes up as 13 for me.
Oh yeah, I forgot to add the +1. My bad.
On a 13 with a history, you kind of remember hearing tales of very powerful stones that have shaped the very history of Volstagg throughout many eras. These stones, you don't quite recall the name, but you know that they are unpredictable and full of very, very powerful magic.
Jeremy,
Okay.
can I maybe? I'd like to roll to see if I recognize anything about this magic other than it's bad, bad magic. I don't have any specific like rock traits with Earth Genizing like hill dwarfs do, but Arcana or maybe something like that.
Yeah, Arcana will work just fine for that. Go ahead and roll.
Okay, let me just do. Okay, 18.
Nice. An 18. On an 18, you know that the stone in question is known as a godstone.
Godstone. Okay.
And a godstone, you know, also on an 18, the origins of which was many millennia ago. Both the god of good, Ahriman, and the god of
Mm-hmm.
evil, Loriarty, fought on the material plane, fought on the very earth beneath you. The war that ensued was massive, lots of loss of life on both sides. And it took the general that was the right hand man to Loriarty, a wizard by the name of Necrobos, who casted a spell so powerful that it froze both the avatars of Ahriman and Loriarty and froze them in stone.
Okay.
And the reason why there are pieces instead of full statues of the avatars within the world is that the dragon god Draki, through his infinite wisdom, rammed himself through the frozen gods and shattered their bodies, the stones flung all throughout the world.
My small friend, that appears to be a godstone. It is perhaps more potent than you might think. I would keep a very close eye on it.
I see. I am going to stick it in my backpack, and I'm going to keep the
Why
backpack.
not?
I would say pocket, but this armor does not have pockets, unfortunately.
All right. So as you place the stone in your backpack, something happens. The stone begins to glow, and you retract your hand instinctively as you can feel massive heat begin to emanate from the stone. And then slowly and surely, that heat burns through your backpack, and the stone once again drops to the floor.
You seem to have a hole in your backpack.
Okay, now I'm gonna try and put it in the black bag that I got from Milanis.
While you do this, does anyone have mend? I do not have mend. We cannot fix your backpack.
I can get another one. As long as everything else stays in there, I will carry it in my hands. Damn, I don't have mend either.
All right. So I'm assuming that by using this black bag, you're opening the black bag and placing it over the stone and then kind of scooping it up?
Yes, I'm not going to touch it again.
All right. So as you do that and you pick up the stone and you lift the bag up, before you can even close the bag, you can see as it begins to form on the side of the bag, a rune begins to glow a bluish light, and the rune itself is the shape of a dragon with its wings spread open. And once when the rune fully completes its shape, as the light traces the outline of the rune, the bag closes on its own. You almost drop it, but you're too quick and are able to catch it.
I'm going to hold on to this. Since my bag has a hole in it now.
Here, you can just put it in my backpack. At least then you're not carrying around something so obvious.
And if anyone would like, you guys can roll an Arcana check to see if you can identify exactly what happened.
I will absolutely take advantage of that. We will
Sure.
see how it goes. Doo-be-doo-be-doo-be-doo-be-doo.
I'm going to roll as well.
It goes
See how it
badly.
goes.
I would like to also.
It goes 8. Oh wow, we're all rolling like balls.
8, 9, and 7. Anyone else want to try?
I'll try.
4.
Wow.
Well,
There we
whoa!
go.
Good job,
Hey.
Paige.
All right.
All right, Sage with a
Yes,
21.
Sage for the save.
All right. Everyone else has no idea what just happened. It's just absolutely amazed that this bag kind of like operated on its own and like started to glow. Sage, you know that the type of magic that was used was a divination type magic and a very powerful protection spell, or even almost like a warding spell per se, was placed upon the bag to protect the contents within without letting any loose magic to seep out of the bag. Whatever is in that bag is sealed and has like no contact with the outside world.
My friends, I think I recognize this type of magic. It looks like powerful divination magic. And that bag, I believe, has a warding spell on it now, where all the magic in that stone is now sealed inside. I
Ah,
believe it's warded.
Interesting. Interesting.
Better in and out, I think.
That is good to hear. Rust, are you gonna put that in my bag or backpack or what? Or are you just gonna walk around like a target?
no, I'll give it to you.
I think you should listen to Kiri.
She sounds smart. I'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
I hand
All
the
right.
bag to Kiri.
Now, what else would you like to do in this room, or would you like to head back?
I want to explore.
Oh.
I think. Okay.
Did you want to leave?
Yeah, we can do whatever. I'm fine. Let's go.
I don't see any exits to this room other than the one we came in.
Correct. That is the only way out.
Okay. So if you want to keep exploring, then we've got to go back sort of the way we came.
Yes, and if I remember correctly, you only really explored the left side. The right side, I believe, is still unexplored.
Correct.
Yes.
All right.
I don't
So your light pushes back the darkness as you exit out the southern eastern door, and you find yourselves in a corridor. You can see a small stairway leading down into another hallway and another stairway leading up to a small dais on the northern side. Which way would you like to go?
I say down. Let's go down the steps.
Do we see anything of note in this hall?
What you do see is that the hallway that I'm going to ping right here appears to be a hallway that would meet back into the hallway that you explored last time. This hallway here appears to be new, and it's a southern hallway that looks to lead back out the way you came. Down the hallway, you can see a few things. On the northern side, where the small dais is, you can see a small funerary preparation table there to prepare the bodies for internment. Down the main southern hallway, which looks like once again that it'll connect back to the entrance. You can see two alcoves. One here with a sarcophagi with the lid slightly ajar, and you don't know about further down, but it looks like there might be an identical alcove down here.
Do we want to check out the sarcophagi?
I'll check up here.
All right, Phelan, as you begin to kind of look around and investigate on a 17, you can see the remnants of funerary rites, as far as there's strips of linen, various jars of spices, very ancient. You know, this stuff has been sitting here for many, many, many years.
Oh, split the party. Get back here.
And Kiri, you find yourself in a kind of a small alcove or mini room with a double door leading to the south.
Harry, I'm gonna follow you because we don't ever split the party.
Yeah, we do. It happens.
I'm going to investigate.
She's good at that.
Yes,
I'm
I
gonna
am. It's fun. Makes life interesting. I'm
Oh,
gonna go
this
through
is
the
fun.
doors.
and I'm gonna
Okay.
investigate.
I
the
will
sarcophagi.
take a defensive position in case anything pops out.
All right, so Kiri enters that room, and Russ wants to investigate the sarcophagi in the second alcove. The sarcophagi itself is completely sealed. On the top of the lid, carved in relief, looks to be a humanoid figure clad in plate mail armor. Much like how real life, I can't remember the name of the cathedral it's in, but I believe it's in Italy. There's a cathedral that has Templar knight tombs
Oh,
within the
yeah.
main rectory, and carvings of the knights that are within the tombs themselves are on top.
Oh,
It's very
cool.
very similar to that. And Curie, when you enter the room, you see something very similar to that. That room has actually two sarcophagi, one to the east and one to the left, very much with the same type of relief carved into the top.
I want to knock on the sarcophagus.
I want to shoot you with my crossbow, but I'm in a different hallway.
All right, so you knock on the sarcophagus, and it's a very solid sound. It's not doesn't sound hollow. It's just because of all the stone that is in the cover, it doesn't really travel through.
Can I
Who
open
is it?
it?
Jeremy, could I roll just to get a general? I hate saying vibe check, but just a general outline of the room that I am currently in. The one, it's the center chamber with the two sarcophagi.
Yeah, what exactly do you want to know?
I think. Maybe do I recognize either of the excuse me, I'm sorry, any of the carvings, or does any of the design, like the design of the sarcophagi, speak to me? The structure, the way anything is built. Technically speaking, I worked for a cleric of Aramon. Sorry, first time
Mhm.
saying it. I think that I would have a knowledge of that. Anna doesn't, but character does. Yeah, just what's going on here?
All right, go ahead and give me a history check then, please.
Okie
Or
dokie, I will
or
do that.
religion, whichever one is higher.
They're the same.
Wow, a 21.
Nice.
All right, so on a 21, looking at these sarcophagi, the carvings on them, the runes that are placed upon them, the way they're situated, and things like that. It calls to mind something you've learned through where you were an acolyte, right? You said you studied under a cleric of Aramon.
I was a bodyguard of Aramon, bodyguard of a cleric of Aramon. So yeah,
Yeah.
acolyte works.
So with that, you know, with your experience with that, you know that he had studied history, and being a bodyguard, passing the time, you kind of also read a few things yourself. You remember hearing about an ancient civilization that mysteriously disappeared off of the face of the earth, known as the Aldarun.
Okay.
And it's spelled, I believe I have the spelling as ALDA apostrophe RUUN. So it sounds like all the runes,
Mm-hmm.
but instead of saying the, it's a duh. So
Duh.
all the
Runes.
rune.
Give
Okay.
me all
Cool. You don't know this. You're in a different hallway, sir. Um, cool. I will catch up with the party and I will pass that on when I see them. Thank you.
All right, no problem. And then Kiri, you are back into the main foyer, the tomb, as it were. And the way you are heading, you can kind of see into the next little room. And much like the opposite side that you investigated last session, you can see that there is a funerary prep table there.
Okay. I'm gonna wait here for the rest of the party to finally catch up.
All right, Phelan, Sage, and Rust, what are you going to do down that hallway?
Have we checked this one yet?
No, you did not.
Let me have a look in here.
All
Nice.
right. Nice. On an 18. On an 18, you see inside the skeletal remains of a human figure clad in plate mail. The plate mail that he's wearing kind of matches what is carved on top. You do not get any magical vibes, but you do get a sense that this was a warrior of some kind, an ancient warrior.
It seems like it would be rude for me to take his plate mail. So I'll just leave it there.
Well, all adventurers are essentially grave robbers. I mean,
I would like to open the one I'm in front of afterwards.
I'm going to, if I can get the plate mail easily, I think I'll grab it because I can always sell it.
all right, it doesn't take much to remove the plate mail. I mean, as you begin to try to lift it up, the bones of the that was inside of it, all tumble out into the sarcophagi, and the plate mail comes up easily. It is of an ancient make, a make that really isn't used today. It has more bronze in it than steel. Might fetch a fair price, being how old it is.
All right.
And then, Rust, you said you wanted to try to remove the sarcophagi lid there?
Yes.
All right, give me a strength check, please.
Ah.
All right, on a 10. So you hunker down and you place your hands on the lid and you just, put your back into it and you're just, you can feel the cover start to move a little bit and you can hear the stone grinding against stone, but it doesn't budge more than, maybe an inch.
Phelan will come down and help him.
Help me push this over.
Jeremy, can Laya and Kiri hear this nonsense where we are?
Oh yes, they're not being quiet about it. You can clearly hear that they're doing something.
Anyway, let's go check on the boys, huh?
Let the boys be boys. They'll be fine.
my
They've
way
got enough
down to
armor
the-
between the two of them.
Talking
on
to
my way
someone
down
with
to the
experience
girls.
there. Talking to
No
someone with
problem.
experience there before.
And Sage, you can see that the double doors to your south right there have been opened and someone has passed through. You can make out Laya's light down the hallway.
Big
All
Here's
right.
gonna
big fat
offer them
poison.
both some water as we wait for the boys to finish their nonsense.
All right.
Thank you very much.
So Phelan, you wanted to give it a try?
Sure. What was it?
It's a strength check.
Strength, strength, strength.
Let's get higher than a 10.
How about that?
12.
All right, on a 12, you bend down and you start to push. You put all your might into it, and you can just hear the stone grinding it against stone, and it's very, very heavy, and it's starting to move. And then all of a sudden, with a quick whoosh, the lid falls off onto the other side with a loud clang. In fact, the lid cracks when it hits the ground.
All right.
What's inside?
Inside, much like the one before it, you see a body clothed in, plate mail of an ancient make with more bronze in it than steel. Cobwebs cover the skeleton and plate mail. You can also see a weapon in this one. The other one did not have a weapon. You can see a bronze sword.
Do I recognize the sword?
And, looks like somewhat like a long sword almost, but instead of steel, it's bronze.
I'm gonna pull the sword out.
All right. So you take the sword. You can tell that the craftsmanship of the sword, being a dwarf, is, very well indeed. And you can definitely tell it comes from a different age since bronze isn't used. And in battle, you don't think it would last very long.
I'm gonna stow it in my bag for the time being. Maybe get a little more information on it later.
Your bag that has a hole in it.
All right.
It's gonna have another if this goes through.
You can just put the sword right through the hole, and it'll just, the crossbar will keep it within the bag.
It won't go far. I mean, if it's a long sword, it's as tall as I am.
Yeah.
So I'll just sharpen it as I walk.
You strap it to your backpack, so it's basically across your shoulders. So now you're a little bit wider up on both sides than you were before.
That's not that hard.
I'll have to walk sideways through the doors.
All right. Should we leave?
Sure, we can leave.
All right. So as
You've
you
done enough
step,
harassing of the dead.
so as you step out of the tomb and you find yourselves back into the forests that surround Ashenvale. Once again, you can see that black twisted vine that you followed to the tomb, but it no longer pulsates. It's as if what was once possibly living is not living anymore.
Do we want to
Kind
head
of weird.
back
You guys,
to Brother Vandebroth
Hildebrandt?
or Hildebrandt? Vanderbroth. I don't know where I came up with that.
Might it be worth, before we go back to Brother Hildebrand, might it be worth bringing the warded bag near the vines? Perhaps that's where its power was coming from.
Oh, I'd assume so, but with the bag sealing itself, no
True.
magic entities is coming out of it. So I don't know if the vines will light up.
Brother Hildebrand makes sense then. Okay.
Let's go.
Onwards, we march.
So you make your way through the forest, once again following the now dead, twisted and gnarled vine And as you get, go towards Ashenvale, you kind of keep your eye on that twisted vine because it was really weirding you out the last time, the way it was writhing around and pulsating. And as you follow it back, you can see that the vine, like I said, is no longer pulsating, but it begins to gray out. The color, starts to drain from it, and then pieces of it begin to slowly disintegrate into dust as you approach Ashenvale. Ashenvale itself looks pretty much exactly how you left it. You can still see dead crops in the field, the remnants of slaughtered cattle still in the fields and whatnot, because it hasn't been too long. And the one thing that sticks out to you is all of the masses of earthworms that were writhing around in the soil are retreating. It's as if that the evil that had gripped the town is now starting to leave. So before you once again in the town, is the church where Brother Hildebrand is at. I'm assuming that will be the destination you want to go to.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So when you enter the the church to Aramon, before it kind of was kind of like a sad feeling, like an oppressive feeling, kind of hung like a pall over the place a little bit. Now that it's you don't feel that, but the second you enter, you see that Brother Hildebrand is pacing back and forth within the foyer, kind of nervously, right? And when he sees you, all of you, enter, he stops and a smile goes across his face and a sigh of relief exits him, and he's like, "Oh, thank Aramon, you have returned. What did you find within the forest?"
A whole lot of bad.
There's indeed dark magic at work.
Bad, bad how?
Um,
Well, there. Actually, I don't want to scream this across the chapel because we said we wanted to keep it to ourselves. Let us step into your office, all of us.
I do that.
All right. He directs all of you to a small office through the rectory on the backside near the altar. And once when he closes the door, he looks at you and says, "My friends, what did you find?"
Well, remember how you told me that there was some very bad stuff going on, and you showed me the contents of the box. Well, I looked towards Kiri, and the party, all of us here, battled a whole bunch of cultists, and then we found this stone and have sealed it away. There's definitely some darkness going on.
A stone, you say? What kind of stone?
Godstone, an evil Godstone, and perhaps ruins from the civilization of Aldarun. Does this mean anything to you, Brother Hildebrand?
He looks at you and he's kind of surprised. Says, "The Alda Rune? Why, they're just a fairy tale. I've never heard of anything being found of the Alda Rune before."
We faced strong enough enemies to nearly wipe us out who would argue the contrary. The vines that were leading from the chapel into the forest led us to, trying to remember, led us to what is a tomb where we found cultists and, as my dwarf friend said, bad, bad magic.
He says, "If what you say is true, the king has to be informed. Maybe his advisor, Ilanis, would be able to help you out more.
I agree. But I also told you that we would be back and your town would be safe and that we would collect the box to bring with us as well.
So what? So you can go ahead and Brother Hildebrandt will more than gladly turn over the box to you. He doesn't want this evil dead creature within the town anymore.
Yes, because I said that I was going to take it with us so we can investigate it with Alanis. And I think with the stone as well, it'd be well worth the time of Alanis.
You
All
hope.
right. All
Mhm.
right then. What would you like to do from here then?
I would like to put the box into Kiri's book bag so she can carry it, so it does not fall out of mine.
All right, so you place it along with the stone. All right, that'll work. Do you guys intend to stick around, or would you like to immediately head back towards Volstagg? Even though I believe it was a 3-day travel by horse, and if I remember right, I believe you guys bought horses too.
Yes, we
And
bought.
a cart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who knows where they are at this point?
Oh, they're at the front gate.
Surely they didn't run off on us.
Oh no,
Surely
brother.
not.
No. Brother Hildebrandt would have made sure that anything like that was well taken care of while you were away.
Good old
Um,
brother Hildebrand.
I will bow to Brother Hildebrandt and say, if you are ever in need again, please don't hesitate to reach out.
I think I would like to pull the foreigner card for a minute. Go to Brother Hildebrand and say, I am new in these lands. What, if anything, do we need to take back to the king?
Well, I would suggest what I have here in this box that Russ promised me he would take to Ilanis, and whatever you may have found within that horrible tomb that you said you have cleared out of evil cultists.
Shall be done. Thank you for your hospitality.
mhm.
And you guys know that as you began to enter Ashenville before you reached the chapel, that your horses were fine. They were just out in the field, just chilling. The cart's there, everything's fine with them, so no need to worry about them.
But the way that you say that makes us want to worry about something else.
I just remember we spent a stupid amount of money on feed.
But
Mhm.
Yeah, they've got to
Yeah,
be fed. They're
yeah.
good horses. They need food too. Jerry's insulted. You'd think we wouldn't feed them. He'd find
So,
food for
Oh.
the horses before the party any day.
so do you take to your horses and leave?
I think so.
I think so
Yeah.
too.
Alrighty. So mounting your horses and then the cart, put all your supplies away, and you head off the way you came. It took 3 days to get there, 2 nights to camp, and again, you just camp off onto the side of the road and have various, stops along the way. And nothing out of the ordinary happens. You do see travelers coming to and fro. And as you begin to get closer to Volstagg within this travel, having witnessed what you witnessed at Ashenvale, you begin to see other signs kind of, throughout your travel back to the capital. You run across maybe a pulsating mound of earthworms that are just writhing, just off to the side of the road. You can see that some of the crops and some of the farmlands that you have passed aren't really growing. That some of them are dead, and others that are growing are very stunted. Might mean a very lean winter unless things change. On the third day, you approach the capital of Volstagg, Volstagg Castle itself. Again, the outer wall of the city is just massive. You guys, if I remember correctly, exited out of the east entrance and are now returning to the east entrance. The stable handler that you got the horses from last session kind of waves a greeting and nods his head, seeing that the horses were well taken care of. If I remember correctly, I believe you bought them completely outright and weren't renting them. So if I remember correctly, they all are yours.
Yes, that is correct. We
Mm-hmm.
bought them all.
So that makes the stable masters happy as you pass them. Going through the main part of the city, you follow the King's Road that takes you through the main part of the city, and that then curves up and heads to the castle proper, passing by the dock district as well. And it's all a bustle again with supplies being chartered in and out. Passing through the secondary wall that surrounds the castle proper, the guard on either side, kind of stands a little bit at attention this time as you begin to pass. It seems that word that you guys were embarking on a mission from the king has kind of gotten out. So guards and whatnot are paying a little bit more attention and respect to you now. Going into the castle proper, you dismount your horses, and I'm assuming you immediately make a beeline into the throne room. You go up the main steps following the red carpet that leads into the double door throne room. And the throne room itself, when you enter, is a buzz. There are dignitaries from all over the kingdom, all of them talking and trying to vie for the king's attention. Valric himself is sitting on his throne, rubbing his forehead with his eyes closed in absolute frustration at everything that's being thrown at him at once. When he opens his eyes and sees you, he stands up and he says, "Clear the throne room." All the dignitaries stop and are silent and, kind of like, whoa, what just happened? Moment. And the king, with a little frustration in his demeanor, he says once again, "Did I stutter? Clear the throne room." All the dignitaries hurriedly finish up what they're doing, and all of them exit, and giving you all kind of little bit, of a dirty look as they pass you. Like, how do you guys rate? Why are we leaving because of some puny adventurers type thing? Once when everyone has left and it's just you, the king, you can see Alanis up on the dais and Elisa leaning up against the throne. Valor gives a quick little nod, and two guards behind you that are guarding the double doors to the entrance close the doors, but they close it in a way that they are not in. So they are now on the outside of the doors. Once they are closed, making sure no one else can interrupt, per se. And it's at that moment you hear a loud clang as if something dropped and hit the floor. And everyone just kind of like, like, what is that? Turns to the direction of the sound. And you see a small, diminutive little figure. He had dropped a wine goblet. Reptilian, of red scales, not more than 3.5 feet in height at max, wearing a custom-made plate mail armor. He's got a mace on his belt. Two little horns stick out of his head, and he's got these bright yellow eyes. And he's like, "Oh my gosh! Oh, the heroes have returned! Oh, my king! You said they would be back, and here they are! Oh, what a glorious day today is!" Everyone's kind of like, "Who the heck is this little guy?" And the little figure, kind of waddles up, up to the throne room and it gives a bow to the king, and then he tugs on Elanis's robe, and Ilanus kind of just, looks down at him, and he said, and the little figure says, "You are right, Ilanus. They truly must be great and brave warriors to have survived. I was getting worried. What do you think they found?" Ilanus reaches out and kind of pats the little creature's head, right on top a little bit, and it says, "Well, we will have to wait for their report, Deacon. You're a little impatient. Just give them time. They've been through a lot." And then Elanus, removes, the hood of his cloak and stands at the front of the dais on top of the stairs, his staff in his hand before him, the light gleaming in through the windows of the throne room just sets ablaze the red crystal that is on top of his staff, throwing almost like this reddish, eerie glow throughout the entire throne room. "Come, my friends, tell me, what did you find?"
We have found a lot of evil. And I motioned to Curie to bring out the items that we have.
Oh. So Carrie steps forward towards Alanis and pulls out the box and the bag he had given us and holds it out to him. "These might interest you more than me, and I'd be happy to have them off of my person at this point."
Well, Elanus, reaches out and grabs both items in one hand. He lets go of the staff so that way he can start to look at the items, and the staff stands perfectly still next to him, standing there as if someone was holding it. But there's no one touching it now at this point. It's just standing there of its own accord. And Elanus, using both hands now, begins to examine the items. He first opens the box, and he looks, not surprised per se, just kind of perplexed. He's like, "Wow, that is a very different looking kind of worm. Something I have not seen before. Interesting indeed. I can sense the evil that pulsates out of this dead carcass. Interesting." And he closes the box and he hands it down to the little figure. "Here, Deacon, hold this for me, please." The little figure grabs it and holds on to it. "But don't open it, my friend. There's such evil in there, I don't think you would have the power to resist." And then he looks at the bag that he gave you before, and he says, "Well now, I am glad this came in of use. I wasn't too sure if you were going to need this or not." And he opens the bag and looks in. And he says, who here knows Elven, first of all?
I do.
All right, so those of you that know Elven know that he gives such a vile curse. Like, you are, like, shocked. I mean, we're talking, this is like a sailor, just cursing up a storm, you know, as he opens up the bag. "By the gods!" He almost drops it and kind of takes a couple steps back. And he says, "This was in Ashenvale."
It
Mom,
was.
There was some cultists that were trying to use it, but we stopped them.
cultists, you say? What were they doing? What was the situation? What in the room that you found this? What was going on? I need information, please.
It was in a summoning circle. They're trying to use it to summon something evil.
Evil? That is only the beginning. I can see some of the pieces of the puzzle now, but I don't have enough to make a full conclusion. I am going to need time to research some of these things. But I dare not take this item. I've already suffered too much because of such things. And he closes the bag and he places it down uh, on the stone steps, almost refusing to touch it any further. Everyone, make a quick perception check, please.
Dun, dun, dun. Woohoo, that 20.
Nice.
All right, so let's
Oh,
see
mine
who we
didn't show.
got here. So is it Leia that we're waiting on for our roll, or
No, I rolled.
Nope,
I
she got a
got
13.
I got a 13.
all right? So we have a 13, a 7, a 10, an 8, and a 20. All right, the 7 and 8, you don't see anything. The 10, you almost sense like a flare up of magical energy. It's the best way to describe it. On a 13, you notice two little lights begin to glow on Elanis' staff. The two lights correspond with the eye sockets that are on the dragon that sits upon the crystal.
Okay.
And on a nat 20, you see the same thing, but you also see the metallic dragon that is just a metal statue, a metal carving made of pure metal, move and look at the bag.
So would
Kiri
I...
said she doesn't.
Go ahead,
Since
Kiri.
Kiri doesn't notice anything, she's gonna kind of roll her eyes, pick up the bag, make sure it's sealed closed, and stuff it back in her backpack angrily. Just kind of grudging to have it on her person still.
Sorry.
Well, if I would have been smart, I would have put it in the black bag first. But now I have to get a new bag.
Elanis looks at you, Kiri, as you pick it back up, and he says, "My dear, be very careful with that item. That item is far more powerful than you can imagine. But it hasn't awakened. Right now it slumbers. Let's pray to Ahriman that it stays asleep."
Looks at Alanis and just says, "Well, it's better in my hands than it ending up back with the cultists just because we left it on the floor."
Indeed.
Elanis then reaches down toward Deacon. Deacon kind of looks up at him like, "What do you want?" And he kind of shakes his hand a little bit at Deacon and, "Oh, yes. Here you go." And he hands the box to Elanis. And Elanis once again opens this and he looks at it. And he says, "I wonder, would you guys be willing to do a quick experiment for me? I'm going to need everyone's energy if I am to perform this right here in the throne room."
Sure, why not?
I guess.
You're going to have to be a little more specific.
What
What
does it
exactly
entail?
is this?
He says, "I am going to cast a very powerful divination spell, a legend lore spell. Hopefully, it will divine exactly what this thing is."
What
Okay.
is it that you need us to do? Exactly. Stick out our hands?
I need you all to focus on positive thoughts, happy thoughts, something that brings you joy. For this thing is extremely evil. I can feel it just coming off of it. And I'm going to need the protection of positive energy as I cast this spell.
If it will not be distracting, I will happily play koro, which is my oboe. It brings me happiness like nothing else.
That would be perfect, my lady. Nilanis
So
turns
she's
to.
gonna bring it.
All right, I'll let you go first.
I was just say she brings out this. It looks like an oboe. It's made of honey-colored wood, and she'll just not loudly because she knows that there's. She'll just start playing like this, really quiet, like a lullaby.
And Nilanis turns to the king. With your permission, my liege. And Valric nods and leans forward in his throne. Lisa behind the throne, also kind of leans forward to look at and see what's going on. Elanis strides down the dais and places the box on the ground and lifts the lid. He reaches in his sleeve of his robes and he pulls out a handful of candles, 4 to be exact, and he places one in the north, places one in the south, places one in the east, and places one in the west, and he lights them. And then he reaches in his other sleeve and he pulls out a small pouch. He opens the small pouch. It's of a brown basic leather. It doesn't seem to be magical as far as anyone can tell. And he begins to pour out a white crystalline dust. And he forms a circle connecting all 4 candles. And then from each candle, he pours enough to form a line that goes from each candle to the box. He sits outside the circle. No, he stands outside the circle and then sits down. Again, all of you also notice that his staff is still up on the dais, standing on its own. Deacon is kind of looking, standing up on his tippy toes to see if he can see over Elanis to see what's going on. And then Elanis, in a soft, quiet voice, begins to utter the words of magic. They flow like poetry, almost matching the tune that Laya is playing on her musical instrument. The light within the throne room begins to dim just a little bit, and everyone can feel the arcane energy that's being summoned, so much so that all the hair on your bodies begin to stand like static electricity.
That's a lot for Rust.
And when Elanis finishes the spell and releases the energy, the box begins to shake and wobble. And then the lid pops open. And inside that box, everyone can see the weird worm with the 3-pronged mouth just writhing around on its own. It was dead before. It hadn't moved like this in all of your travels, and now it's just writhing around. And as that is going on, the body of that worm begins to give off a pale yellowish glow. And an image forms above the box, a ghostly image. Something that's absolutely horrifying to behold. The image is of a figure, looks kind of humanoid, but in tattered brown robes. And what you can see for a face, for limbs, for hands, for feet that stick out of the robes is made up of entirely all of worms that wiggle and writhe. Elanus lets out a painful gasp of horror and exhaustion. And then everything goes dark for a second, and then the light returns to the throne room. Elanus has collapsed to the ground and is on his side. You guys can see a single tear begin to fall down Elanus's face. But this isn't a normal tear. It is red, red of blood. Elanus begins to cough. And as he does so, flecks of blood shoot out from his mouth and onto the floor. With great effort, Elanus sits up. And by Eraman, such horror, such evil. I did not believe the rumors. I did not think this thing existed. I thought it was only a fairy tale told to scare children. My friends, did you see an image above the box like I did?
Yes.
Yes, what is it?
Elias reaches into the sleeve of his robe and pulls out a white silk handkerchief, and he wipes the blood tear from his eyes and wipes the blood off of his lips. And he says, That is the worm that walks, rumored to have been imprisoned eons ago, deep within the earth. To think that someone might be trying to summon such evil is beyond comprehension.
Could that be what they were trying to do with the stone?
It could be, my friend. It's hard to define. The stone could have been trying to summon him. It could have been trying to tap into its ungodly power. This is a horror that the gods sealed away, according to the legend. But I did not think it was real. I could not believe that a being of such evil could have existed.
Can you tell us more about the stories? What kind of evil is this?
Elanus slowly gets up to his feet, and when he stands, he almost stumbles. And Deacon is quick to rush down the steps and, give it, some stability to Elanus. And Elanus just holds out his hand, holds out his right hand, in fact, and the staff lifts off of the dais and then floats down to him. And when his hand grips the staff, it's as if Elanus seems rejuvenated a little bit, as if some vitality enters him, and he stands up straight, holding the staff. Seems a little more regal now than what he was moments ago. And he says, The worm that walks predates our civilization. Predates the civilization before us, going back to a civilization that was only a fairy tale as far as I knew. The Elder Rune was a civilization that thrived on magic, that was born of terror. There was a priest within that civilization, a priest that desired power above all others. He wished to replace the gods in the heavens and take their place. His name was Caius. He did, according to rumor, to lore, to anything that I have ever studied, he is rumored to have done such vile rites and acts, things that I dare not repeat, to attain this power. The gods were angered. Not only Terra herself, but Aramond and his brother Loiati, who feared a rival. And they turned against Caius. They cursed him and gave him the form in which he now exists. And the gods cursed him into the form that you saw above the box. He was enraged and went on a rampage, nearly destroying the world along with him. The Elder could not defend themselves. Strong as they were, his power was even more. It took the collapse of the civilization in order to imprison him deep within the earth where the worm belongs. And with that, even though that vitality that entered Elanus when he gripped the staff, you notice that he's still, really favoring leaning on that staff to be able to still stay standing. A deacon who is next to him kind of pipes in and he says, "Well then, it looks like we only have one choice. We must fight this thing any way possible. I'll lead the charge. I've got Eramon on my side. I have no doubt we will overcome." Elanus kind of smiles a little bit, the smile of like a patient parent to a child, and says, "My friend Deacon, it would take more than your courage to defeat Caius if he is summoned." He looks at you, Kiri, and he says, "My dear, with that stone in your possession, I fear your very soul will be in danger." I could tell looking at that stone exactly what that stone is. The Godstone. One of many, one of thousands spread throughout the world. I know all too well the burden of having such a stone. And as he says that, he kind of turns his head and looks at the crystal that's atop his staff. And then back at you, Kiri. Make sure you guard yourself while you have that stone. And I suggest that you do not try to attune to such an evil artifact.
I have no intentions of doing any such things. Even even I, not being as magically inclined as you, knows well enough not to attune myself to something that feels that disturbing. But I appreciate your words of warning, and I will keep them in mind on my our travels.
The ward I placed upon the bag should shield you for a time. But eventually, The stone will overpower it. You will know when that starts to happen.
I will be on guard, but I'd rather keep it on my person than have it fall into hands that would use it poorly.
I agree, and I sense much courage within you, milady.
I take that as very high praise coming from one as such as yourself.
So now we must determine exactly what these cultists were after. Word has reached me through various spy networks that the kingdom has within its employ. There are whispers of strange phenomenon happening in the southern reaches of our kingdom. There are many ruins from an ancient war. Ruins that, for the most part, should be left undisturbed. And I have advised the king on such matters. But I suggest you seek out Lady Arena. She is a historian and knows a little bit more about these runes than what my magical studies have allowed. You can normally find her here in Volstagg in the library. She spends a lot of time there poring over books. More so than I ever did in my youth studying magic. She would be the first person I would contact about this.
Sounds like a good plan.
Then I guess we need to look for a library.
Have you ever been in one before, Rust?
Is that the place with the bar that serves
No, it is the
drinks?
one with all the books.
Ah, who needs books?
Obviously, you do.
So the king stands up and he comes down the dais and he places a hand on Ilanis' shoulder, a very uh, uh, familiar gesture, speaking to the friendship between the two figures. And then he looks at you, all in turn, and he says, I thank you for helping and going out and solving the mystery of Ashenvale. And as promised, I have a reward. And he snaps his fingers, and Lisa kind of bends down behind the throne and then gets back up. And when she comes around the throne, she's carrying in her hands a small chest, a few inches wide, a few inches deep, but it's heavy. And she places it down next to the king and lifts the small lid. And inside you can see lots of coins and several gems. And Valric goes, a small gesture for the things that you have done for this great kingdom of mine. And I am forever in your debt for helping us out and uncovering what seems to be a very evil plot. But we must find more. We need more information. We need more insight to what's going on. I can deploy the army, and I will. I will send my soldiers out on the roads to protect the villages, to protect the hamlets all throughout my kingdom. And if they send word back of anything strange going on, anything that would bring to mind this monstrosity that Elon has summoned within my throne room, I will summon you guys to go and investigate.
Of course, my liege.
But take
We
this
will.
take this reward. It is not much. A few hundred gold coins and a couple gems. But they should be able to replace any items that you've used on your previous adventure and provide you enough to have some of the finest rooms within the Dragon's Tooth Tavern here in Volstagg.
Metagame wise, what's in the box?
When you retrieve the box, a quick appraisal says there's 200 gold coins and one ruby worth 100 gold coins and one diamond worth 500 gold coins. So a grand total of 800 gold coins to be split amongst you as you see fit. The diamond itself may or may not be useful for spell component for anyone that has Revivify.
Does anyone need gems for spells?
Revivify, speaking as someone who does a lot of clerics in other games, Revivify is a good one to have around. I would keep the diamond separate. I don't know if anyone has it on their spell list. Maybe Kiri?
No, not yet. It's one that I want, but it's I don't think I'm a high enough level
Level
yet.
3. Gotcha. Kicks in at level 5.
Yeah. As of right now, I don't have the leveling for it.
Gotcha. Yeah, that just speaking meta, that would be a good thing to keep in your back pocket, so to speak. Not your bag with a hole.
Yeah, Russ. Go through, break all your stuff.
The rubies, I don't remember. Um,
I don't think
can
Ruby.
I don't think so either.
Jeremy, you made a special point to say that I noticed and that Rust noticed funkiness going on with the staff.
Yes,
What would I roll, if anything, to figure out what's going on with that? I don't have a
Arcana.
better way of explaining it. Okay, gotcha.
Arcana.
I will do so. Do.
Nice.
Nice. Oh my God. Ooh. All
Yep,
right.
Jack of all
Wow.
trades card.
Oh, I didn't expect that. All right, so on to 23. This is what you know. You know that whatever ritual Elanus cast uh, in the creation of that staff, it was extremely powerful. So powerful that the statuette of a dragon that is sitting on top of the red crystal is a living, breathing dragon
Oh,
bound to Elanus in servitude.
So is that what he would mean by the God Stones and how he knows what they can do? Because he was talking about the attunement to it.
Mhm. If you like, you can roll an arcana against the staff.
All right,
I will help
here
you.
we go.
I will help you.
I
Add your
got
+2
a
for my help.
10, so that'd be a 12.
+2 is 12.
12. So on a 12, what you would know then is you surmise that based on all evidence and knowing that Elanus looked at the stone when he was talking to Kiri about the Godstone, that crystal must be a Godstone.
Because when I did the perception check, I noticed that the dragon had looked at it, had like motion to it
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Leia noticed that the eyes were glowing, but Dream, you saw it physically move and look toward the stone that was in the bag.
So would I be able to surmise that there's a connection to them together, or just that it is just another godstone? Like, is
On
there?
12, on a 12, it would be that it is just another godstone.
Okay, darn.
Okay.
But that does have some merit to it.
And then earlier, who rolled high enough on the Arcana for the Godstone that I was able to tell the story of its creation?
That was,
I
I
think
think,
Sage.
Sage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was
Yeah.
me.
All right. So, Sage, knowing the creation of the Godstone, I would say it's safe to be able to surmise that some stones have pieces of Aramon within them and are thus a agent of good.
Mhm.
Other stones would have pieces of Loriarty within them, thus making them an agent's, a pathway to evil, an evil power. And some stones might have both.
Interesting.
Hmm.
So, having surmised this, I'm going to offer up this theory to my friends here, or at least that information.
All right. Loud enough for everyone in the room to hear?
Um, I think just our little party here.
All right.
Okay, friends. So I can't tell you what this is exactly, but I can tell you that with the Godstones, that their origins can take three paths. Some of them have parts of Loriarty, is that the right word? Um, and have the path of evil. Some have parts of, was it Aramis? Did I write that down right?
Aramon.
Aramond. And these stones tend to the good, and other stones may be a little more neutral and have bits of both. So they're more faceted.
All right. Just for a little bit of clarification, the god of good is Aramon, Aeromon. Eromon. The god of evil is Loriarty. Think of Sherlock Holmes'
Moriarty.
Moriarty, but with an L. Moriarty. And
Got it.
instead of ending with a Y like Moriarty does, it ends with an I.
Ah, okay.
And you also know about the dragon god Draki, Dreki.
No, that's different than what I said. Hmm.
And then in Ilanis, when Ilanis was regaling the origin of Caius, you also heard of a goddess by the name of Terra, and that'd be Terra.
Goddess of Earth.